Hey everybody, it's been Blue Dragon here. We are doing creepy stories, or these are true creepy stories. It is a channel that I stumbled into a while back. How do I minimize this? Called Beyond Creepy. I listened to a few of the videos at work, and it's pretty good. So I think I'm gonna do that, do a reaction to their video. It's really good if you like paranormal, UFO, aliens, urban legends. This channel is freaking awesome, and I recommend it. So yeah, if I can't find a good scary video to react to, then we'll just do this. So it still will be in the same genre as far as spooky. What up, Trident? So yeah. So we're going to jump into this one. The Pennsylvania Sphere Beans and More. Hopefully it's a good one. Paranormal Stories. I don't know if these are like actual true stories or it's just, just make believe. Some of the UFO ones kind of seem true because the narrator had like backup, like news clips and stuff like that. So it just depends. But yeah, it's enough talk. Let's just jump right into it.
Who knows what they can do? If they can control people like that, then what's to say that they can't control a pilot who's, flying a passenger plane or something along those lines? And it is kind of scary if you think about it in that context.
You Triangle of Light.
It was August 27, 1979, Thief River Falls, Minnesota. 10 p.m. The witness, then 13, had grown tired of his mother and father arguing and stepped outside to get some fresh air. He was quite upset at his father for screaming at his mother and needed a few minutes to calm down and maybe try to find the family pet that had scurried off earlier. I opened the door and saw something on my left and turned to see this white triangle suspended in the air about 5 feet or so to my left. It was about 3 feet tall and hovered about a foot off the ground near the last porch step, just a few feet away from me. The witness described that the object was so white that it lit up the field behind it. The top of it pulsated brighter than the rest. Each corner was bright and there were like blue veins of light running through it. It was a distinct triangle, pulsating with light hovering at the bottom of the porch. He became frightened in its presence.
I would run back inside.
It didn't communicate with words, but I felt terrified. It might be my own fear, but I felt as if it didn't really have good intentions toward me, but also as if it wouldn't hurt me at the same time. Kind of like it was attracted to the fighting going on inside the trailer, like it was drawn to it. The witness admitted he didn't feel threatened by it, though he did feel a number of emotions that he had trouble describing. I did feel an overwhelming sense of guilt, like I wasn't worthy of seeing it or shouldn't have seen it. All of these at the same time, all jumbled together as I just stared at it for a couple of minutes, just a few feet away. And then I remember watching my hand close the door, feeling like a robot and knowing it was controlling me as I closed the door and returned to the couch. Upon sitting down on the couch, he suddenly came to his senses and began screaming about the triangle outside. The witness's father and sister immediately rushed to the door and looked out. and to nobody's surprise, nothing was there. I am 48 years old now, and I only recently have been able to sleep without a nightlight.
Deal.
Sometime later, the witness learned about the Val Johnson UFO car accident incident, which had happened on the very same night about 30 miles away in Stephen, Minnesota. He is convinced that the object he saw near his home was the very same one Val encountered. I know this triangle of light is related to Val Johnson's light that attacked his cop car. I've always felt it was the same being, though I have no way of proving that, of course. It was only 30 or so miles away from where I lived, and around the exact same time. It has always bothered me, and today I was reading his story for the first time in years and saw that his windshield had been impacted by 3 points. Someone had drawn the lines to connect them, and it made a triangle. It is just plain odd. I have nothing to hide since I'm telling the truth, and people aren't as judgmental about this stuff as they used to be. Anyway, I know our 2 incidents are related, and after reading an excerpt where someone wrote that he made it up, I felt compelled to write my experiences as a kid all those years ago. At one point he says that this triangle, this entity, was controlling him, controlling his movements and stuff. And that does seem to be a theme through a lot of the videos that I've made, where people will describe how these beings seem capable of controlling them, turning them on and off like they were robots. I thought that was interesting, and it wasn't until he was back inside the house that he regained control of his person.
So then it was just a beam of light that freaked him out. A triangle, bright light. Because it wasn't like an actual, he didn't see like an actual alien or figure. Just that beam of light that freaked him out. Yeah. That's crazy. So he said he didn't quit sleeping without a nightlight until he was like 48, which I get. I mean, if something like that happens to you, that's totally out of the left field, totally bizarre. You're gonna be thinking, am I like imagining? Am I like making this up? So it's definitely gonna mess your way of thinking. But the thing that I thought that was pretty odd, at least for right now, he said that it seemed to be attracted to his parents, like arguing, the negative energy. So I don't know. I think I heard about that cop car one too. I was like, so far I was thinking it was like an actual alien, and I was like, oh, it's just a beam of light or a triangle, which would still be freaky. You know what I mean? You're not. When we do see light, it's either the moonlight, the sunlight, lightning, natural light. So okay, so that was the first one. This is the second one.
John Robinson, a pseudonym, was driving on Interstate 81 near Jonestown, Pennsylvania, when he observed a light in the distance. Assuming it was a pedestrian or a possible accident, he immediately began slowing down. I didn't understand what I was seeing. A basketball-sized glowing orb was slowly bouncing up and down from about 3 to 5 feet above the inside shoulder of the highway. As he closed in on the object, Robinson claims that he went from 70 miles per hour down to 20. He felt it was important to be cautious until he fully understood what he was dealing with. And this is when things got weird. It appeared to look like one of those balls you can touch and create blue static electrical charge. As I closed in, I could see something inside. It appeared to be a glowing white creature with deep black eyes. There was also some mechanical structure things inside the orb. Robinson believed that the ball was some type of craft and the creature inside of it was a pilot. When I got my closest look at the orb, it had now moved from the shoulder of the highway into the passing lane, passing just a few feet from hitting my car. I made deep eye contact through the side window as we passed. I then slowly accelerated, watching the light in my rearview mirror. Totally freaked me out. Curiously, something similar happened to another man in Pennsylvania back in 2012.
Wait. Okay, so he's going from one story to the other, or one experience of somebody obviously having these experiences to the other. So the one that we just listened to was there's like a little alien in a little ball of light. I've never heard of that. You know, they usually come out of the UFO, there's a bright light, and then they're next to your bed, and they abduct you or talk to you like telepathically. But the one that we just listened to about there's like a little creature zooming around the little light, I thought that was pretty hilarious. I mean, it's not really like hurting you, but it's definitely something that would freak you out.
It was July 23, 2012, Layton, Pennsylvania. The witness, Derek Green, a pseudonym, had just clocked out of work and was driving to a friend's house to meet up with them and hang out. It was quite late in the evening. As he drove, he suddenly felt an inexplicable sensation of warmth in his head, followed by an apparent and undeniable voice that implored him to drive to his parents' house in town.
Okay.
Green, uncertain of what was going on, opted to listen to the voice. He immediately rushed to his parents' house. It was now around 3:30 a.m.
What?
As he drove up, he noticed that there was a light in the driveway. He assumed it was coming from an outside light at the home, but as he pulled up, the light went out, like someone inside had turned it off. Given the time of night, he thought it odd that somebody would still be up. His parents' home was located on a wooded lot with no neighbors nearby. As he got out of his car, he suddenly heard a metallic sound, quote, like something hitting a rock. Inside the home, he heard the dogs barking frantically. Were they reacting to him, or was something else going on, he wondered. He ventured inside and noticed nothing amiss, aside from the dogs going crazy. As he walked into the living room, something strange caught his attention. Something was at the window.
Ooh.
He walked over and peered out and was shocked to see, quote, 2 red orbs. And if that wasn't strange enough, inside those orbs were, quote, creatures.
Again?
He stared in disbelief at what he was seeing. He noted that they were gray in color and seemed to be quite small.
What the hell?
About 3.5 to 4 feet tall. As he watched, he noticed 2 to 4 shadows between the orbs in his window. These shadows were much taller, standing around 6 feet tall.
Whoa.
They made, quote, blipping noises, and Green got the sense that they were speaking to each other. He further believed that they were trying to get into the house through the open window. He immediately rushed to the fireplace and grabbed a stroker rod. He ran outside, hoping that it would scare them away. Green recalled turning the corner of the house, and that's it. When he came to, he was lying on the ground with the stroker in the grass next to him. He has absolutely no memory of what happened between turning the corner and waking up on the ground. He did not think he could make it to the house, so he crawled to his car and got inside. That is when he discovered that nearly 2 hours had passed. 2 hours he couldn't account for. He recalled that he felt strange, that his mind felt groggy, almost like he had been under anesthesia.
Ooh.
His right foot, which he had broken sometime before the incident, suddenly felt fine. Curiously, he now had a pain in his left leg. He didn't know what it was from. Even stranger, his clothes were rearranged on his body.
Oh no!
His shirt was on backwards, etc. It was like they were removed and put back on wrong, he recalled. He continued to feel disoriented and exhausted.
I've heard of that. Oh, people getting abducted by aliens. You know what I mean? They got you butt-ass naked on the freaking operation table or desk. You know, and they do their experiments on you, and then when they throw you back to Earth, you know, and you wake up like in a cornfield, or you wake up maybe in your bed if you're lucky, your clothes is always like backwards or inside out. And I think that part's always funny because, you know, they're aliens, right, from another planet or universe or dimension, and yet they can't. I mean, they're smart, you know, technology wise, but then they can't figure out, you know, how to put a shirt back on. So, I mean, I guess they don't have really good memory, really, because, you know, they don't put it, you know, they don't put the clothes back on properly, which I always think that's pretty hilarious. You know, that would be like, people would wake up after an abduction and be like, was I dreaming? And then they'd be like, why is my shirt backwards? Why am I, you know, why is my shoes, you know, on the other foot? Yeah. Like they can never figure out what happened. It's always missing time.
He ultimately sat in his car for a couple of hours until his mother came outside to walk the dogs in the morning. She wondered what he was doing there and why he hadn't come inside. He told her what had happened. In the months and years after, Green has experienced a number of strange dreams. And since he was around 18, he began to use the number 31 in everything.
Huh?
All his passwords, usernames, etc. Interestingly, this happened on his 31st birthday. Was that a coincidence? Since the experience, he often finds himself dreaming of quantum physics, Einstein's theories, unified field theory, etc. He would often wake up and write them down and then look them up and verify what he had dreamt.
So this is another story where we've heard about lights or orbs, and then inside the orbs is like a little alien. I've never, besides these two stories, heard of that. You know, there'll be stories of orbs or light, but they've never exposed like a little alien in the middle. That's pretty funny.
Green eventually reached out to the Mutual UFO Network. While speaking to an investigator, he intimated that he felt the experience was not a one-off, that something had been observing him for years, but, quote, only while at his parents' home. He would later discover that his stepfather, Stephen, also claims that he observed strange things happening around the Layton home. A long time ago, when I first started this channel, one of the first videos I made was about the Brown Mountain Lights and, you know, strange activity that was, you know, recorded in the Brown Mountain area. And Joshua P. Warren was an investigator, and he talked about how people would be seeing these weird spheres of light, and inside these spheres of light were these creatures. And I always thought that was interesting. I never really heard similar type cases. Usually people see, you know, creatures inside flying saucers or triangles, right, or whatever. You know, peering at them through the windows and stuff. But
right.
These types of creatures were encased in this light, and they were flying around in it. And like I said, I haven't heard too many stories like that. And then all of a sudden, just in the past month, Albert sent me a case from MUFON, and then Lon posted a case from a MUFON investigator. It was a completely different case. And I just thought it was interesting because in both cases, the witnesses described seeing these spheres of light, and inside these spheres of light were these creatures, and like piloting them or whatever. And I just thought that it was very strange that you know, I don't hear about these types of cases for years, and then all of a sudden they, like, two of them pop up in a short period of time. And they both happened in Pennsylvania, so I thought that was interesting.
Ooh.
The Layton case seems really terrifying. You have these creatures inside the sphere, and then on the ground, I guess, you have these taller entities, which he doesn't really go on to describe, but he just says they're like shadows. He sees them outside, and he gets the sense that they're trying to get inside the house. Through the window, which is odd. I mean, if they're flying around in spheres, you know, I'm sure they have other ways of getting into your house if they want to. But maybe that's the sense he got because they actually wanted him to go outside, and maybe the whole grabbing the thing from the fireplace and going outside to confront them, maybe that wasn't his thought. Maybe they put that thought in his head, because it does seem a little strange that you would run out and you encounter something so strange, and then you run right out into it. I mean, most people would be like, completely paralyzed with fear, cowering in a corner crying. This guy runs right out into it. So, was he really in control? I don't know.
Yeah. So these were pretty small little videos or stories of, weird aliens and spears, and pretty good. I'm just all of a sudden like really tired. So I was hoping to do a longer video, but like I could barely keep my eyes open, to be honest. But like, this is an awesome channel. Like I said, I found it. I think I got it confused with bedtime stories, and that's another awesome channel. But yeah, it's called Beyond Creepy. It's 233k subscribers, and I mean the quality is just good. So if you like this kind of thing, I watch this one or listen. Well, I half watch, half listen when I'm at work. I think I've watched this one. I think this one. I mean, there's a lot. Obviously, we watched this one. Yeah, so there's totally, buttload of these creepy stories. Like I would like to watch another one, but like I could barely keep my eyes open. I'm just all of a sudden tired. I mean, obviously I worked both jobs, so coming home, what the heck? I'm pretty tired. I mean, I could force myself to watch another one. They're not that long, but it's like I'd be, barely keeping my eyes open, and I really wouldn't be focused. So it wouldn't really be a reaction video. It'd just be, oh my gosh, Strange Encounters at what? How long is this one? You know what? We'll watch this one. The alien got my attention. Oh my goodness. That's like my biggest fear. I don't like clowns. I don't like tornadoes. Aliens would probably be number one. That's just, like I said, ever since I watched like that show Sightings, came out like in the 90s, and they introduced aliens, I was just like scared. Yeah. So we'll watch this video. I'm kind of like, hopefully this one looks good. So we'll watch this one, and then after that I'm gonna go to bed. So this one's called Strange Encounters at what? Carboria Lake. Wait, see, it says paranormal stories, so that's the reason I'm thinking, is it true, or is it like just narrated? I mean, the way he does it, very professional, where you could think it's true. But I don't, what, let me read the, hold on. Let me read the intro, let me see. Excuse me. From talking raccoons to cartoon characters that come to life. Oh wait, all stories are true, and all stories are sourced, allowing the watcher to find the research them on their own. Ah, so these are true stories. That's good. Because honestly, if it would have been fake, I would have probably like, it's still a cool channel. Don't get me wrong, but I'll be like, I kind of don't want. There's so many let's read and spooky stories. Like I want legit stories. So I'm gonna go by, their word. And like I said, they, the way they do it is very professional, and it's pretty it's convincing. So let's get back to the one with the alien. There we go. Oh, come on. Hate these ads. Okay, let's watch. Ugh, if I saw that in real life, that fucking alien, I would either do two things. One, be petrified and start praying that it'll never snatch me up and abduct me. Yeah, that would probably be my number one reaction. But there's a slight chance that if I could get to like a knife or something, or some kind of weapon, then I would definitely try to kill it. I'm sorry. I've listened to so many stories, and they're all the same. Once they get in your house, you're fucked. Doesn't matter how big you are, doesn't matter how strong you are, doesn't matter how many people are in your house. I always used to think when I was little, well, if I ever get abducted, at least I have a house full of siblings and, you know what I mean, my parents, so it's going to be hard for them to snatch me up, right? And obviously the more I listen to this, and they can just snatch you up from your bed and you go through the damn roof. Like, they don't need to open the window and take you from there. But yeah, I don't know. Because I heard, I've listened to a lot of these stories, but I've heard the short ones aren't too bad. The little ones, the little grays aren't bad. It's the really tall ones that kind of look like an insect. Those are the ones that you need to worry about. Or the really tall, skinny ones like that motherfucker. Those are like the evil ones. Supposedly, there's this story, some guy got abducted, and they're telling him like, oh, well, there's, we're different. We're not all the same, And, he was like, there's good aliens and there's bad aliens, just like there's good humans and there's bad humans, right? So, I think he was trying to tell, the alien obviously was trying to tell the human the difference between good and bad as far as like those aliens and which ones to be aware and stay clear from. But, I don't know. Yeah, I would definitely, more likely, I would just be petrified, to be honest. Just seeing that. But anyway, let's get to the story.
In late 2000, Minnesota MUFON was contacted via telephone by a 75-year-old woman who wanted to discuss a strange encounter she and a coworker had back in 1979. A transcript of her call was...
First I was like, yes, something that's somewhat recent, right? And then when they're like 1979, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I want stories that are up to date. I want up-to-date stories. A lot of these stories are like from 1940, 1950, 1960s, 1970s. It's like, come on, man. Like, what? Aliens don't fucking abduct humans no more? I mean, come on.
was published in the Minnesota MUFON Journal, issue 87, January-February 2001. Minnesota MUFON State Director William L. McNeff took particular interest in her case and interviewed her, along with another investigator, Steve Hero, at length about her encounter. His follow-up investigation and interview were published in Minnesota MUFON Journal issue 103, September-October 2003. In the week leading up to the event, 50-year-old Liz, no last name provided, employed at Sears Roebuck, was enjoying some vacation time off with her husband, completing a painting project around their home.
Cool.
It was a nice week, and Liz was looking to cap it off by attending a bridal shower for a coworker at their manager's home in Caribou Lake. At the time, Liz liked to jot down her daily activities in a journal, something that was confirmed by McNeff. So there was a written record of the events of the evening of August 7, 1979, the night of the bridal shower. The night she and her friend encountered something out of this world.
The fuck, man?
The weather that day was perfect, according to Liz. After hours of painting, Liz allowed herself enough time to clean up and get ready for the shower. She picked up her coworker Ruth in her Buick Regal, and together they drove to Caribou Lake. The shower was very nice. Sue, the bride-to-be, was so cute and excited. I love coffee, but because it was a warm summer night...
Oh, come on!
most of us drank lemonade. Between 9 and 9:10 p.m., Liz and Ruth left the party. It was dark enough that she drove with her lights on from the lake to the Blacktop Mungershaw Road. She stopped at a crossroad at Caribou Lake School. We both noticed three figures zigzagging over the center line straight ahead. In my judgment, maybe a half a mile. Ruth said, "What in the world is going on down there?" I said, "It looks like three little ones on bikes, but they better move, 'cause here I come."
Right.
Stepping on the gas, Liz switched the low beams to high beams. Despite this, the figures did not move. As we come upon them, I switched to the low beam. I had one dead center with the right front headlight.
You know what? If that was me and I'm driving and they're aliens, sorry, I'm running their asses over. I'm sorry. Fuck it. Well, no, I won't. Not in my car. Not in this car. If I had my old car, yeah, I'd run their asses over. Yeah, I take that back. I'd swerve. You know, I avoid the aliens. But if I wasn't driving my car and I had like a truck or something, then hell yeah, run them over. Like, hey, that's what they get for being on the fucking road. Oh man, you can't. You gotta be safe out there, man. You know, they'll learn.
We both kept saying, "My God, what is it?" A huge head, no hair, no ears, huge eyes set in deep hollows, wrinkles or folds, but no protruding nose, a small slit for a mouth. The mouth came to a peak. The chin came to a peak also. Upon being interviewed by McNeff, Liz noted further details. They looked so odd, almost luminous gray. I could not see clothes. They had arms, I didn't notice the fingers.
Oh.
The arms were in proportion to the rest of the body. A huge head at least 18 to 20 inches across, with huge eyes 2.5 to 3 inches. To avoid running them over, Liz stopped the car, and
No.
as soon as she did, her interior dash lights went out.
No, why would you stop? No, fuck that shit. If either you hit them or you go around. You can slow your fucking car down and go around them. I would definitely not have done that. I would either hit them or go around. Or go through them. Like, go in between them. You know, if I happen to scuff one of them, fuck it, ain't my fault. But I'm not going to fucking stop my car. Fuck. What a rookie. I'm surprised the other girls weren't screaming like, "What are you doing? Keep going." You know what I mean?
Two of the figures floated into the ditch, but the third stayed right in the center of the lane,
Fuck, they float.
dead center in the headlights. Our eyes were glued on the colorless clay-looking creature, the color of cement, with black-like eyes larger than a chicken egg. Ruth was scrambling to find the door lock in the dark, with both of us babbling in fear. We knew we could not hit the being, and the thought of backing up never occurred to us. After about 8 to 10 minutes of them just sitting there, Liz decided to put the car in gear and crank the wheels to the left. She was hoping the movement of the tires would alert it into moving. This was to no avail. All I could think of was hopefully another car would come from either direction. No luck. At this point, I told my friend we should very slowly move ahead and try to clear it.
Right?
She said, yes, let's get out of here. I pulled to the left to try to go around him and started to pass him, but when he was even with the right corner of the windshield, Ruth went into complete hysteria, laughing and crying, and came across the front seat and climbed all over me.
What?
I had to stop the car. I don't know how long we sat. The being was staring at us from the corner of the windshield. Finally, I got the car going and passed the being. Upon clearing it, Liz took off at a high rate of speed.
There you go.
So panicked and upset, she actually ended up taking a wrong turn down an old dark country road.
Oh no.
They ended up at a dead end and had to turn around. And
Oh
go back.
no. That's fucking the one. That's like a horror movie. The one thing that fucking, like the one thing that goes wrong, it does go wrong. Like, what are the chances of her miss? Well, I understand she missed her turn, right? Like, you just saw a fucking alien, clear as day. So yeah, I mean, you'd forget. You just want to fucking put the pedal to the metal and just drive the fuck away, right? Doesn't matter where you're going. But the chances of them fucking end up in a ditch or like in a dead end, meaning they gotta go back. Oh man, like they have a greater chance of seeing it again. Fuck. I'm surprised that the car didn't stop. Because usually when it comes to aliens and like cars or any electronics, most of the time the electronics are always, like the car's always dead. Even if the person put a brand new battery, just dead. It's either when the alien's finally gone, or like the UFO leaves, is when like the car all of a sudden comes back to life. So I was surprised. That's why I was like kind of worried when she said she had stopped the vehicle. I thought that was aliens were gonna make it, stop.
I knew immediately the mistake as we could see the cars going by on the main highway. In haste, I ground a few gears to find reverse and got to the stop sign by the highway. Now, a car approached the stop coming from the same area we had left and took off. We looked at them carefully, hoping it was some of our friends from the shower. It was not. Liz and Ruth had no idea who these people were. McNabb did a check and found that there were no other incident reports filed from that night in that area. It is possible the people in the other car also saw the creatures, but chose not to tell anyone. Or maybe they didn't see anything. Once on the Miller Mall Trunk Highway, Liz and Ruth continued on their way, discussing the encounter, quote, furiously as they drove. They could not come up with an answer as to what the being, well, the one they got a good look at, was. They ultimately concluded that it was not human, not an animal, not a trick of the light, and not a person in a mask pulling a prank. They both saw and described the same thing, so they weren't hallucinating. They also both sensed deep in their core that what they had encountered that night was, quote, an outer space being. Neither were much interested in ufology, and to be honest, both doubted such things even existed. Until that night.
Oh my goodness, screw the ads.
When Liz pulled into Ruth's driveway, Ruth seemed happy to be home and told Liz that she would talk to her at work. She rushed into her house where she
screw that. I'd be like, hey Liz, you want to spend a night? Might as well, right? I mean, they both work at the same spot. I'm not gonna friggin' go to bed by myself. No, not especially if I fucking ran into aliens. Screw that.
Promptly told her husband Bill, who ridiculed her and asked her if she had been drinking. Liz felt apprehension during her drive home, and like Ruth, she rushed into her house and locked the door.
Ooh, she had to drive home
After a long day of painting, her husband had showered and gone to bed. Curiously, her niece, who had been dropped off earlier to assist with the painting, was awake. She asked Liz if she would be willing to drive her home. It was the last thing Liz wanted to do, but as she could not convince her...
Nah, I'd be like, you're staying, it's late, I just got home, I'm tired, I hardly have any gas in the car. I'll take you in the morning. Yeah, if I see aliens, if I saw aliens and I finally made it home, haven't been probed, haven't been abducted, then you bet your ass, I'll be like, hey, either you... Nah, I can't make them walk. I'll be like, look, just stay the night. First thing in the morning, I'll take you home. Yeah.
Her husband to get out of bed and take her home, or even just go with them, Liz decided to just do it herself.
Oh my goodness.
I couldn't think of anything except this horrible experience, and related the whole thing to Jean, my niece, and in turn she was almost afraid to get out of the car and go to her apartment.
Oh my gosh, so she told her what happened and she doesn't want to. I'll be like, screw you. Hey, you wanted to go to your house or go to your apartment. I'm like, get out. You're wasting gas. I gotta go.
Liz quickly hurried home. After arriving at her quiet house, as she prepared to go to bed, she just found herself breaking down emotionally.
I would too.
I cried and begged my husband to wake up and listen to me. I had to tell him, and it couldn't wait until tomorrow as he requested. He did listen, but he could offer no comforting solution as to what we had seen. He did say, "Why didn't you hit it? Throw it in the trunk. It could have been analyzed." Liz told her kids the next day about the encounter, though it is unclear how they reacted. Once back at work, Liz and Ruth told their co-workers, who suggested they report it to the authorities. They, however, did not.
Oh yeah.
They had a fear of reporting.
Yeah, if I ran into aliens and I experienced that, I wouldn't tell anyone. I mean, I'd tell a lot of people, but I wouldn't tell the authorities because one, they're not going to believe you. Two, they'd be like, are you under the influence of drugs? Like, no, motherfucker, I'm over here reporting an alien fucking sighting. You know what I mean? It's just doing that. You already sound bizarre. So for them to be like, are you on drugs isn't like too far-fetched. But then it's like you go back into the fucking category of becoming crazy, you know what I mean? Or being known for being that crazy person that's seeing aliens. Like, I remember growing up, when I was in junior high, we had... Well, I didn't have this algebra teacher, but there's this algebra teacher that would tell students that she actually got abducted by aliens. And she would tell the story, and obviously the kids didn't believe her, and they'd make fun of her. And like, well, not in front of her face, but they'd be like, it didn't happen, or okay, like, you know, they didn't believe her. But like, you could tell it was true because it was in detail, the story never changed, and the teacher would start to like shake when she would tell the story of being abducted. Yeah. I think eventually, like, it got word to the principal, and then the principal was like, quit with your alien story, like, you're scaring the students. So obviously she never brought it up. Because I think at one time, like, it was like towards the end of the school year, somebody asked to like, oh, Miss, I know you're not supposed to talk about it, but can you tell us about, you know, your abduction? I think she did it one more time. Because she said, well, make sure you don't say anything. And it was just your typical, she was a little girl, and one minute she's by herself in her bedroom sleeping, and the next minute there's freaking aliens in her room, and they just snatch her up. And yeah, I don't know the actual story because I didn't have her for a teacher, but I know my friend was telling me about it because he had her for algebra. Yeah, because I had him for like social studies or something. And he told me, because I think we were talking about aliens. That's how it started. We were like talking about, I think it was the X-Files, and it was an alien episode. So that's what started it. And then he had mentioned that teacher. Yeah. Obviously, I believed it, because I'm just, why not? You know what I mean? I mean, to be an adult and you're going to talk about aliens, like, nah. You wouldn't do that for intention. So...
it more widely and possibly being laughed at or considered mentally ill.
Right.
It was the most terrifying experience either one of us had gone through, Liz told McNev. Since the incident, I'd been scared of the dark. Pictures of these ETs cropping up, no hair, big head, big black eyes on TV, etc. According to Liz, whenever she and Ruth got together, they would mention the event, but would not discuss it further. Ruth was deeply disturbed even thinking about it and actually refused to speak to McNeff on the matter when he contacted her about an interview. Ruth did leave open the possibility of talking to him, but it would be at a much later time. given the sheer amount of time that had already elapsed since the event, and her still unwillingness to discuss it, it seemed unlikely to McNeff that she would ever get to tell her side of the story.
Right.
The dash lights, which had gone off when they stopped for the creature, remained inoperative. Liz's husband was a mechanic, but he was unable to make the dash lights work again. He took it to another mechanic's garage, Johnson's Auto Electric, and despite working on it extensively, they couldn't fix the lights either.
Damn!
Neither Liz's husband nor the other mechanics could determine a cause for the light's failure. McNeff found it odd that only the dash lights failed. None of the rest of the electrical system in the car was affected. He also noted that no craft, which might have contained mechanisms to cause the dash light failure, was observed by Liz or Ruth. McNeff found the fact of the irreparable dash lights only added to the women's credibility. In his write-up for MUFON, McNeff noted, "The detail of the creatures floating, zigzagging, and zooming rather than walking or running, while seeming fantastic to persons unfamiliar with accounts of ETs, is a fairly common occurrence in accounts of beings associated with UFOs. This investigator can construct no null hypothesis that can account for the facts, other than that of simultaneous hallucinations and coincidental failure of the dash lights. The probability of this is obviously infinitesimal." The prime witness, although she had gone semi-public at the time of the event, understandably does not want any additional publicity at this time. She is now in her 70s and experiencing medical problems. Both women were and are married and had responsible jobs. They reported their experience in spite of perceived risks to their reputations to co-workers and relatives. The prime witness must be rated high in credibility and in accuracy of recollection. The being she reported seeing must be considered to be definitely unidentified. McNeff, utilizing the make and model of the car and the witness's estimates, determined that the creatures had to be a little over 4 feet tall. This would explain why Liz and Ruth initially assumed them to be children. The witness said the head was at least 18 to 20 inches wide, therefore the head is drawn about 19 inches wide. Based on the witness's sketch, it would be about 21 inches from tip of chin to top of head. It is possible that the head was large enough that it seemed to the witness even larger than it was. The head seems quite out of proportion to the rest of the body, but similar sketches and descriptions come to mind. The witness said the arms were proportional to the rest of the body, that is, roughly human proportions. The overall impression is of a creature that is quite cerebral. Here is yet another case in which the visitors were able to negatively impact a vehicle's functionality, at least with regards to the dash lights. Granted, it could have been a coincidence, but the timing is extremely suspect. The being just happened to be standing in front of her car at the same moment her lights go out. I wonder why other parts of the vehicle remained undamaged. Did extinguishing the dash light serve some purpose for the beings?
I would think so with the dash light, because I was listening to another story based on aliens, and this one was it was another Beyond Creepy video, but this one was a little girl was in the woods and she stumbled into upon an alien, and the alien was sorry. The alien wasn't. They weren't in the forest. It entered her bedroom, and the little girl was like, "Oh, are you friendly?" And the alien's like, "Sure," because the alien was like, "I'm what you would call a doctor," and and then the kids, they say whatever's on their mind, and she was like, they got into the conversation of water. I'll play it again, not today, but some other day, that actual video. But anyways, the little girl was asking questions like, how come you guys can't get in the water? And how come you guys can't be in the sun? Because they're like really pale. And yeah, the alien is just like, we can't, it's not good for us. The sunlight's not that good for us. Which would make sense because, one, yeah, they're really, really pale. 2, the eyes are like huge and big, that they could probably see a lot better at night, kind of like an owl, which would explain. So since they can't really be out there during the daylight, I would think the sunlight would hurt their eyes just because just how big their eyes are. So that's the reason in this story that when they were driving towards, the girls were driving towards the aliens, you know, the headlight, the brights, you know, the headlight in general, just, that's like the sun to them. So I don't know, they did something, maybe telepathically, to shut down fuck up the headlight. So in other words, long story short, that's just making sense on, they can't really go into the sunlight without a suit, because I've listened to stories where they were in the sunlight, but they had someone kind of like an astronaut suit. I know it sounds very like bizarre, but according to the story, so this one makes sense how, you know, the headlights, you know, kind of acts like the sunlight. So then, since they can't be in the sun, they would definitely you know, get rid of that. So it makes sense. Sorry, I was kind of going all over the place with something as simple as they can't do that. They would take the headlights out because it's like the sun and they can't be in the sun.
Liz and Ruth seemed absolutely traumatized by the event, which, by their estimation, took around 15 minutes to unfold. Ruth was too frightened to speak of the matter even 20 years later, while Liz described breaking down in tears in the initial hours following the encounter, and of being haunted by nightmares and unable to sleep in the dark even 2 decades later.
I don't blame them. I don't fucking blame them one bit. I would be fucking petrified. Because if it happens to you one time, if you see them in this situation, okay, you would still be scared, right? Because you're out and about, driving home from work or wherever, and then you just run into these fuckers, right? It'd still be scary. But I think if it happens in your bedroom, you're going to be even more scary, because you're going to be scared, because you're going to be fuck, when's the next time I'm going to encounter them? So that's going to always be in the back of your head, in the back of your mind. So do you know how houses make noise? They groan and make noises because of the wind and whatever. So you'll be hearing that, and you're tensing up, thinking it's aliens, and it's just the wind blowing. So I get it, you know. It just takes one experience for them to screw you, fuck you up mentally.
Of any missing time, I highly doubt McNabb wouldn't have considered that when he interviewed Liz. No doubt he asked her, but given that there is no mention of it in his write-up, I can only assume that there wasn't any. Liz's inability to sleep with the lights off speaks to a deep and underlying fear, something that briefly passing a weird-looking creature on a lonely stretch of road at night wouldn't normally elicit. I'm convinced that something else happened to Liz and Ruth that evening, and I believe McNeff also had concluded as such, though since he could not prove it, he refrained from mentioning it in his write-up.
Yeah. That's pretty bizarre. Luckily, they didn't get abducted. Not that, it's towards the end, it seems like there's a part that the girls aren't telling us. But, it is what it is. It's crazy. It's a pretty good story. I'm really tired, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to bed. I can barely keep my eyes open, but this one was not too bad. Yeah. But I agree with her husband when he was why didn't you just run him over and throw it in the trunk and we could analyze that? But then it's if you think about it, there's 3 of them. You're not going to hit all 3 of them. And what happens if you kill one of them, then they're going to be you killed our buddy, we're going to get you. So I think, long story short, the women did the right thing. Avoided them, and they still got scared, but she's brave, though. I wouldn't have gone back. I wouldn't even drop my friend off, or I would have been you know what, can I stay with you? Or I'd be too scared to because she drove and dropped her friend off. Then she sped home, and then she had to drop her niece off. And then she had to go back home. And the whole time she's probably like, am I going to see them again? What's that? What's that? Is that? Oh, okay, it's just a raccoon. She's like on edge. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and go to bed. Pretty good stories. And then they're true, according to the channel. And he backs it up with like newspaper clips and stuff like that. So, like I said, good channel. We'll definitely do more when I'm not tired. Tomorrow, I don't have my second job, so I think when I get off of work, we're gonna jump back into The Last of Us Part 2. So with that being said, good night.